All right. So kind of shifting gears into the SMX World Championship round in Vegas this weekend. The quad lock question of the week is a really good one. And I love the question, and this is why it's the winner, is because I think it will gives a lot of people some insight and hear our view of how we would approach it. But the winner is Z Wiley 13. Congratulations, Z Wiley 13. You are the winner of the quad lock question of the week here on Title 24. Great question. What would be your next move to lock down the championship if you were in the 38's shoes? If you are Haiden Deegan. Okay, so great question. Here's what's at stake, RB. If Joe wins, obviously he wins a championship. Win-win, wins a championship. If Haiden gets 2-2, or if Haiden goes 1-1 and Joe gets 2-2, Joe wins the championship by 1 point. Okay.
Yeah.
So if Haiden goes 1-1 and Joe gets third, then Haiden wins the championship, I believe. So if you're the 38, you know what's at stake. Tell me exactly what your race strategy would be.
Well, he's really got two options, two or three options really. He gets out front, he goes 1-1, and he doesn't get up in the mix with, I guess call it drama, and he lets the cards fall the way they're going to fall with no real involvement in it. He just goes and races. The second is, I think that, it all depends on the start. And I know you don't want to say we beat it to death about got to get a start, put yourself up front in that position. But I think the perfect scenario for Haiden is if he can come out around, say, 5th through 8th in one of those motos, and he has to come through the pack and Joe's in front of him. Now, if Joe gets the whole shot and Hayden's 8th, to bridge that gap may be tough in 20 minutes. But if he can put himself behind Joe and he has to race to the front, and he's able to come up on Joe and run him wide, put one of those moves that he put on Cole on Joe, or same thing that Seth did to, or Hampshire did to Seth, but obviously executes it properly and comes out on top. And Joe's the one that is on the ground in the turn, obviously respectfully, then he can put himself in a position to win. And then the third is that something like another one of these riders gets involved and gets in the mix. The thing is I don't see Joe having any enemies on the track. I think Joe is a lovable guy, likable guy. I think there's a lot of guys that would rather see Joe win than Haiden. So I don't think anybody gets involved with Joe in either of those motos. So I think the perfect scenario is Haiden starts 5th, Joe starts 2nd, 3rd, whatever. He bridges the gap and he takes his destiny in his own hands at that point. But if not, Joe's riding well enough to go 2-2. Haiden, as we know, Hayden's won more races than anybody else. Haiden can go 1-1. And if the cards fall where they fall, he loses. So that's very, very hard question to answer, Z Willie 13, because you don't want to race behind you. I think there's enough educated people in this sport that can call that out right away if he starts racing behind him, and trying to affect the race behind. And then that has a repercussion for that too, right? Like, how does that look? I think, and I've said this before, that Haiden walks a very fine line on, he has major Haiden follower, Deegan fans, but he's also got some haters on the other side, which that's here nor there. But he is moving up to the 450 class. I think he needs to, if it were me in my career, I want to leave with my best foot forward moving into the 450 class.
You've said it a million times on here, and you just talked about it now. And listen, Haiden is a badass, and he is very, very talented. And regardless if you agree with his approach or not, these are the times where when you make enemies on the track, this is where it'll rear its head up. in crucial moments like this. And this is what you're seeing. It's basically, I would say 98% of that field is against him, and we'll work against him this weekend. And it is going to be really, really hard for him to win this world championship without him doing something himself or getting help from anyone else on that line, because he's created this. And again, I go back to, I think he knows that. But like you said, this is, it's a slippery slope, and this is where the rubber meets the road for him. And it's either going to work for him because he goes out there, he goes 1-1, and Joe has some misfortunes, but you can never depend on that.
No.
Joe's been so good. He's rock solid. I think he has some insurance when it comes to speed against everyone else other than Haiden. So if I'm Joe, I'm pretty stoked in that department. Yeah, it is what it is. And RV, you've been right. Like at some point, you got to pay the piper, and this is where we're at. And it's going to be fun to watch it go down. Zach Wiley, Zach, thanks, dude. Appreciate the question. You're a 2-time winner, by the way. You won in 2023. You've won the Baja 1000 and the Best in the Desert series. So great job there. That's awesome, dude. Those are gnarly races, by the way. But going back to that, I agree with you. It's so I did an interview for me and James did an interview for the Big Interview show on the Insiders. It'll be, I think, goes down on Wednesday or Thursday, pardon me, every Thursday. But they asked, like, hey, what's your plan? And I verbatim, I'm giving you cliff notes, but I basically just said, dude, if you're Haiden, this is what I would do. I would go try to win the first moto, and then the second moto, if Joe, assuming Joe gets second, the first moto, I mean, dude, it's for the championship. You have to give him, you have to be a little aggressive with Joe. If you guys if you're 1-2, you have to.
Yep. And I think RC, I think a quick right out of the gate style is line up on the inside of Joe. Line up right on the inside of Joe. You got to get the jump on him, and if you can pinch him off right out of the gate, puts him back in, say, 10th, because he's gonna, if you can shut the door on him right out of the gate, get a grip in front of him and move over on him, and where he's got to get out of the throttle, it puts him outside the top 10. And that's a perfect normal strategy. I don't know how many times James has done it to me, or I've done it to James, or I've done it to Barsha, or anybody lined up next to me.
I know I've done it.
Yep. If I can get a grip on that dude, I'm moving over to where he's got to shut off. And I think that's the most, the most reasonable, simple.
That's the cleanest way, for sure.
Cleanest way from a fan's perspective and a racer's perspective to stay out, also to make sure that you don't jeopardize yourself making some move out on the track by, taking somebody out, or, that's what we're talking about. We're talking about Haiden taking Joe out to put himself in a position to win. I think you line up next to him, you jump him on the gate, and you move over, you get it to where he's got to shut off. I think that's the simplest, cleanest way for him to make sure that Joe can't get to second in Moto 1. And he goes 3-1, 3 whatever, and Haiden can go 1-2.
See, no, I'm the opposite. Like, as far as the strategy, I think you got to do that. I think you got to wait and do it on the second moto.
Or there, yep.
You know what I'm saying? Like, if you're Haiden, you got to win Moto 1. And then, because you can't give Joe an opportunity to retaliate. And that's why I think you do it best. It's best if you do it in the second moto, because I don't know, that's what I think.
No, you're correct. You're correct. If you go do it in the first moto, you still got a whole nother line of a whole nother race, a whole 20-minute moto, a whole another start. And I think you're right. If he can go out, execute race 1, wins, then race 2, and then at that point too, do you even have to do it in Moto 2? Do you even have to make that option?
Yeah, I didn't even think of that. I didn't even think of that. Maybe Joe messes up in Moto 1, then you don't have to do anything. Just go out and get a good start, win,
and execute.
Bingo. So if they go 1-2 the first moto, then Haiden knows, okay, I at least got to cut this dude off, and hopefully he gets third overall and I win the championship. Or if for some reason you don't get that jump on him, then yeah, you're gonna have to you're gonna have to give him a little grease. And it doesn't have to be dirty. It could be something, it could be just a light little nudge into a tough block.
Yep. Yeah. So that's Z Wiley 13. That's what I think. I think that's what you do to answer the actual question is if you do it first moto, great. If you do it second moto, I think what your point is, RC, is even better than is to execute moto 1, moto 2. If the card's still live that you need a little extra, you line up next to him and you shut his door right out of the gate. And that puts him in a position to where he's got to move through the pack, and then you let the cards fall at that point.
Yeah. Amen. Good question. And you know what, though? But you talked about it earlier in the show, RV, is like with how the points are in the SMX playoffs, it's put riders in these positions, and you see it happen in the NASCAR Cup Series and their stages and rounds, if you will, of how it's a round of 16 and a round of 12 is like, and the drivers are open about it. They're like, listen, NASCAR's put us in this position to have to dump a dude to get into the playoffs, or make it to the next round. And it sucks that, it doesn't suck, but that's the position that they're in this particular situation. It's fun for us sitting in the booth or watching in the stands. It's drama. It's doing what it's designed to do. And I don't know, man. Oh, so good. Congratulations, Zach. Appreciate the support. Hell of a question.